Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Armchair Armdrager Podcast. This is episode number 18, and I'm your host, Ben Hersick. We are off of Wrestle Week 2019. We've had some good results, some questionable results, a lot to discuss and digest. A lot of information came out on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday after Wrestle Week, or Wrestle Weekend at least. So we're going to talk a little bit about all of that, get into everything. But as always, first things first is the Twitter mentions. Follow us. Follow me, please. You follow myself at Churro Solider. I've recently been trying to tweet a little more. I've been tweeting about professional sports, some pro wrestling stuff, some video game stuff. Sports, I try to talk about sports I know a little more about. Which is why I tweeted about Jared Goff not being worth $110 million, let alone the $134 million deal he signed to be the Los Angeles Rams quarterback. And I still say Zeke is underpaid. And when you see the numbers Goff has put up compared to Zeke, you'll see why I say that. I tweeted about Antonio Brown today and how this is not a good look for his career. I put out the tweet about Royal Quest, All Out, college wrestling. I try to tweet a lot about sports in general. And same goes for video games. I know Borderlands 3 is coming out next week. I have that on pre-order because I'm a big fan of the series. I pre-ordered the Deluxe Edition, thinking it was 4 days early. Spoiler alert, it's not. But yeah, that's coming out for me, so I'm excited for that. I still have to beat Fire Emblem 3 Houses at some point. I'm still waiting on the SNES online from Nintendo to download. Yesterday was Direct. A Nintendo Direct, and I was enjoying a lot of that. Put out a tweet with my thoughts afterwards, and as soon as I hit send, Nintendo revealed that they're up to date on their meme knowledge because they put Sans from Undertale in Super Smash Bros. I was excited, but seriously, he's only a Mii skin. He's not like an actual character or anything, but that's besides the point. This is a pro wrestling podcast. Just follow me on Twitter if you want to talk sports, want to talk video games, pro wrestling, anything that's just a fun thing to talk about. I enjoy listening and talking to people. And you can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. I've been slacking a little bit on the tweeting from the podcast Twitter, partly because of school, partly because I need to think of other stuff I want to interact with people more. I want to do more, but I have a juggling act I got to do, and it's like. Ugh. I'm also a writer over at All Things Combat, which, if you don't know, covers professional wrestling, boxing, and MMA. And you can follow them on Twitter at Things Combat. Our merch store is back up now. We got hoodies, we got shirts, we got mouse pads, phone cases, coffee mugs. What else was a random one we had? We have hats. We also added a new hoodie design. We've got bags now. I know we have the drawstring bag, we have the duffel bag, and we have a backpack. We also have a water bottle I checked. And I saw that, and I know there was some other stuff added I don't remember off the top of my head. But we have merch. Go check it out. Link will be in the description below. And also, I am the sports editor at the Cauldron over at Cleveland State University, and you can follow them on Twitter at CSU Cauldron. First issue is coming out here on Tuesday, the 10th. And articles should be posted online the following day, I believe. So we'll see about that, figure out all that, and I'll let everybody know when that happens. Okay, now back to pro wrestling. So before we get to the weekend that was pro wrestling, let's talk about something that happened on Monday. And I'm of course talking about the Street Profits only having one backstage segment. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Bayley. More specifically, her heel turn. My question, is this really a heel turn? Now think about it like this. Bayley came out on SmackDown and said she is friends with easy for me to speak. She is friends with Sasha Banks. It doesn't mean she's a heel. It means she was teaming up with her friend. It's pretty much we're friends, so we're going to help each other out. And it's she's kind of how can I word this? the way I'm looking at this is it's not a heel turn from Bayley. It's that she trusts her friend. And with that, it's like, how far does this trust go? Like, what can Sasha make Bayley do? This is going to lead to a match at Survivor Series, I'm assuming. And that would be the payoff. I'm also curious, like, that's the thing with me. Like, you look at the Bayley turn, it's a good thing, yes, because Bayley's character is good. It's just been the same thing for, 4 or 5 years now? So she got something different to do, something that we haven't seen her do before in WWE, at least. And now it's like, oh, okay, we get to enjoy all of this. And it is nice to see. It's something different, something unique, something that is going to draw a lot of eyes to the women's matches coming up. So you also kind of booked yourself into a corner now. Now you kind of have to have Bayley beat Charlotte, and Sasha has to beat Becky at some point. Now, I've said this to a couple people, and I think it might be true. I think the match between Sasha and Becky at Clash of Champions is going to end in a disqualification, setting up a Hell in a Cell match. There we go. And Hell in a Cell, I believe, is the pay-per-view before Survivor Series. Yes, because Survivor Series is always in November. Next month is October, Hell in a Cell. Perfect. Perfect build to that. And at some point between Hell in a Cell and Survivor Series, Sasha stabs Bayley in the back finally. Or, well, that'd be dumb that Sasha just came back. Why would they turn her face again? I was going to say, Bayley could stab her in the back, but I would rather it be Sasha because the boss just screams heel, and it makes more sense. And like I look at it, I don't mind. I don't mind Becky losing the title. The problem was she had no credible challengers. You had Dana Brooke, Alexa Bliss, who had been on a losing streak before teaming with Nikki Cross, Naomi, Natalya. Nobody has done much on the Raw Women's division before or in a year. Nobody's been relevant besides Becky Lynch. And that's because they spent all the time building Ronda Rousey. That's what it is. You focus solely on one superstar, you forget the entire rest of the division. What the hell are you doing? Now, it's also interesting because of the fact that the tag team titles are a thing. And they don't really have a place on the Survivor Series show because there's not the Raw Women Tag Team Champions and the SmackDown Women Tag Team Champions. So I'm curious how that's going to play into things. Do we see Becky and not Becky, Sasha and Bayley kind of think about that? And like that's like a match and that's where Sasha turns, maybe? Possibly? I don't know. It's going to be an interesting build because I can't buy the fact that Bayley's fully heel yet. She came off as a face in her promo on SmackDown. She said she was doing it because of her friend. And like that, when she said that, I'm like, she's not a heel. She is not actually a heel. And I still think that. I'm going to argue this until the fact that she actually is a heel. I'm like, okay, yeah, she's a heel. You guys were all right all along. I was wrong. But I don't think she is a heel. She is a face with a heel best friend. That's the best way to describe it. Although I do like the attention this is getting the women's division. I got a notification on my phone from Twitter the next morning, on a Tuesday morning, and it said, WWE Universe shocked after Women's Championship Showcase. And I was like, this is making news on Twitter. This is huge for WWE. Are they going to take the ball and run with this? Possibly. I just can't buy Bayley as a heel. with when she goes and hugs people, with the theme song she has, with the Wacky Waving Inflatable on Tube Men. It's just not viable. So until she actually like changes everything, I don't think we're gonna see heel Bayley. But who knows how long that's gonna be. And I'm gonna stick with my guns. I'm gonna say it. Her and Sasha is happening in Survivor Series. We have to see that match. We're gonna see that match. And that's where Bayley has to win. Bayley wins there. She starts to brag about how she's beaten Ember Moon. She's beaten Charlotte Flair. She's beaten Sasha Banks. And then not Becky. I keep saying, every time I talk about Bayley, I say Becky at least 2 or 3 times on accident. Bayley can start saying she's beaten Charlotte, she's beaten Sasha, she's beaten Ember. And rumor is Liv Morgan is going to be like a big face now. Maybe that's when you turn Bayley fully. I'm not sure. So it could play into that. I would like to see Liv Morgan back. I've actually missed Liv Morgan. She had a good match with Charlotte about a month and a half ago on SmackDown. We haven't seen her since. I know she's like been on Twitter talking about like weird things, and there was a video of like hair of scissors sounding like it was cutting hair, and like a pink hair strand or something. But we'll have to wait and see on that. I'm more curious still as to why they broke up the Riot Squad. Do they see potential in Liv? Do they see potential in Ruby? Do they see potential in Sarah? Do they see potential in none of them? And they're like, this is going nowhere? Or are like Sarah and Ruby going to be the tag team and Liv the single star? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But enough about Bayley going heel. I also do want to talk about... Well, no, I'll do that at the end of the podcast because it's a perfect end capper. Let's start with the weekend of pro wrestling year 2019, wrestling extravaganza, whatever you want to call it. It was the day where there was a lot of wrestling. You started with New Japan Pro Wrestling and Royal Quest. I don't have much to say about this card because this is the one I haven't seen yet because it's not on New Japan World. I thought it was going to stream live on New Japan World. It turned out it was on Fight TV. So I was wrong there. I know overall my predictions, I got everything except for 2 right. I missed Ospreay and Eagles over Phantasmo and Ishimori because I thought they would want to book the winner of the Super J Cup to look strong going into the match, probably at one of the Destruction shows against Will Ospreay for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship in El Phantasmo. But no, I think Ishimori got pinned, so that's okay at least. And then Ospreay and Eagles say they want the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. And I'm curious, is this going to cause like a little rift and chaos? Ospreay and Eagles want the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, but technically Chaos has a Junior Heavyweight Tag Team already in Roppongi 3K. So is that going to cause a little stir up, a little tension, a little something? Could be, could not be. I could be reading way too much into this. We'll have to wait and see. The other one I got wrong was Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Zack Sabre Jr. for Sabre Jr.'s Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship. I did not expect Tanahashi to win this. Every time I pick against Tanahashi, he wins. I've only picked against him once. The hell am I saying? I picked against him I picked him at Wrestle Kingdom. I picked him to win his first round of the New Japan Cup. I think I am getting to the quarters at least. So like Tanahashi's always a weird one to pick too because he is older. He's an older wrestler. He's not like one of the dads in New Japan like how Satoshi Kojima is, or I guess Makabe is kind of in that role now. Same with maybe Honma. Honma's like the big question. Yuji Nagata is one of them. So maybe you can say Tanahashi's career is near the end. It's closer to the end than it is to the beginning. And him beating Sabre Jr. was a surprise. And after watching a couple videos about it, I can understand why Sabre lost, because of the fact that, A, he is coming off of a weak G1, but also because of the fact that when Japanese guys have been champions in the past for Rev Pro, like Katsuyori Shibata, Tomohiro Ishii, and Minoru Suzuki, they would go over and defend the championship a lot. So maybe we're going to see Tana do that. I just also thought with his commitment to New Japan, they wouldn't want him to win another company's championship. That could be completely wrong, but that was my thinking about it. And from what I read, it was a good match too. Like the whole show overall went really well. There was like streaming issues here and there for people, but from what I read overall, it was a great show. Capped with Suzuki still not winning the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. He's going to win it one day, I swear. I swear he will do it. I hope he does it. I want Suzuki to win that title so bad. And I feel so bad for him because it's like right in the window of Okada's rise, the rebirth of Naito, and the what's the word? The coming up of Ibushi. And Suzuki-gun returned from it was Pro Wrestling Noah they returned from. Suzuki-gun returned from Pro Wrestling Noah all like in that time, and it just kind of went nowhere. I want to see Suzuki win more. That's the kind of thing he doesn't win a lot. Maybe we see him and Sabre Jr. in World Tag League since Iizuka retired last year. So maybe we see him and Sabre Jr. as one team from Suzuki-gun, and we see Archer and Taichi as the other. And it seems like Tomohiro Ishii and Yoshihashi are a tag team now. What happened to Ishii and Yano? What the hell's going on with Mikey Nichols? Where is he at? What is he doing? Why can't he be Yoshihashi's partner? So, I look at it, New Japan's in a weird spot, kind of. Partly because of one thing that I've seen, and it all really hinges on one guy getting the one chance he wants to be medically cleared. And of course, I'm talking about Katsuyori Shibata. So, Kenta versus Ishii was maybe the one low point of the show, because of the fact you could see Kenta was kind of out of it a bit in the match. Rumor is he suffered a concussion. Nothing was confirmed or denied about it. It was confirmed he was in the hospital after the match. Don't know about if it was a concussion or not. I'm going to say yes, from what I've heard. But if it's a concussion, then he'll be fine. It's only a small injury, thankfully. So, we'll see. It's all real tough because of the fact that if you have the Never Openweight Championship now on Kenta. Now, it's a huge if Shibata gets medically cleared, then we have a Wrestle Kingdom match set. But if he doesn't, what's the plan? And now we're in the doesn't part, and I am curious what the plan will be. But that's really all I can say from Royal Quest. The big matches were pretty good. Aussie Open, from what I heard, looked fantastic against GOD. And I really hope that means more New Japan dates for Aussie Open, because they're a really good young tag team. Quotes around young. They're actually not too young. I think they're in their 30s, so they're not old, but they're not young. Let's go to Takeover Cardiff. I did not have very high expectations for the show. I thought it'd be a good show. It'd be a good little main course. To me, if you go out and eat at a restaurant, you have an appetizer, you have a main course, and you have a dessert. Appetizer, you always want to be good, so it sets the right mood. The meal, you have a pretty decent one, not too great, but not too bad. It's pretty good. I'm not talking about going to a 5-star restaurant. I'm talking about going to a Applebee's or a TGI Fridays or something. But then the dessert really has to hit the spot. And I thought that Takeover Cardiff was going to be that little main course meal. It delivered way beyond expectations. First match of the night was Travis Banks versus Noam Dar. This crowd was hot. Like, seriously. Dueling chants for Travis Banks and Noam Dar. One of the few matches that had a decent build, but it wasn't a great build. And it's like they're into it. They're chanting for everything. And you have dueling chants for Supernova and Kiwi Buzzsaw. And it's like, it just clicks. And it's like NXT UK gets it. And again, it was a good match to open the show. It set the tone kind of for the night. We're going to see some fast-paced stuff. We're going to see some hard-hitting moves. We're going to see a little bit of submission wrestling here and there, but not too much. Dar's a weird one to me. Like, I enjoy watching Noam Dar matches, but I just can't really seem to get into the guy, for lack of a better term. Now, I'm curious where this is going to go, because I've read the results from the tapings that happened the next day. It seems like Noam Dar kind of has a set path to go now, but Travis Banks really doesn't have too much set in stone yet. I would love to see him maybe go to the tag team division, partly because NXT UK doesn't have a mid-card title. They don't really need one since it's such a small promotion. And if he needs a partner, we could see one of two things. And they both lie to the point I talked about last week with the Prestige. We could see Travis Banks team with Ligero, or we could see NXT UK go out and get BT Gunn. And we still get a reunion from the Prestige. I would say Ligero, since it's a lot easier and understand, and makes a lot more sense since Ligero's already under contract. It's just like with Travis Banks in such a stacked upper card. I say stacked because there's a lot of big names, but the question is who's going to beat Walter. It's like, where does Banks fit into NXT UK? Unless it's just a placeholder for NXT Australia for Travis Banks. It could be that, for all I know. Because if you look at the roster in WWE, there's a lot of Australians and New Zealanders. So NXT Australia could feasibly happen. Set up a couple working relationships with people. You can get to know even more superstars. So next was the match that nobody saw coming, but we kind of felt there could be something with Cesaro. Nobody really knew where Cesaro was going to fit into the card. Nobody knew what he was going to do going into the show. He just said backstage at Raw, whichever Raw that was. It was the one where he lost to Cedric, I believe. I think. Yes, because him and Cedric had wrestled the King of the Ring match the week before. So Cesaro went over to NXT UK for a little competition. See who wanted to fight. The person that answered the call was not my first choice. He was my second choice personally. If Cesaro wasn't going to get put into the tag team match with Cassius Ohno and make it a fatal 4-way tag team championship match, I would have liked to have seen Cesaro Cassius Ohno one-on-one. But Cesaro and Ilya Dragunov, great pairing, fantastic match, and it showed the world Ilya Dragunov is here to fight. And I am excited to see where it goes from here. When you have a main roster star, not just Cesaro is, he's a main roster star. He's not a superstar, really. He's not like upper tier Finn Balor level. He's like right in the middle because they refuse to push him to the top level because I don't know why. With Cesaro putting over somebody like Dragunov like that after the match, that shows the WWE audience that's watching, this Dragunov kid is a legit wrestler. He's the real deal. I'll tell you right now, he is. There's a reason I picked him to win Super Strong Style 16. Because I think this guy is the next big breakout star. And I am excited to see where his career goes. I know calling Dragunov the next breakout star is a bit of a stretch since a lot of people know who he is. But there's a lot of people that don't. not everybody has been able to watch WXW. Not a lot of people have been able to watch all of his stuff in the Russian independent scene, in the UK independent scene, in the Europe independent scene. So people are getting to see Dragunov for the first time on NXT UK. Seeing somebody like Cesaro put over Dragunov with that handshake after the match, that speaks volumes for Dragunov's career going forward. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Is he going to be the one to beat Walter? I can kind of see it. Like you have your big star in Walter, and then your next big star in Dragunov. But it's like, that's the thing I like about NXT. I legit sit here and I'm like, who the hell is going to beat this person to become champion? I thought I had the answer with Shayna Baszler losing it to Mia Yim. I was wrong. It's probably going to be... Easy answer is Io Shirai. Hard answer is Io Shirai because of the fact that she's a heel and so is Shayna. My heart says Toni Storm, but my heart also says Dakota Kai. So like that whole situation over there is hard. Figuring out who the hell is going to beat Walter is hard too because of the fact that he has been such a dominant champion since taking the title from Pete Dunne at TakeOver New York. Dragunov does come to mind, but he's a lot smaller. It's not like even saying, oh, he's smaller, he's got no chance. Look at what Tyler Bate did in the main event. But the fact that he's a smaller name, like the UK fans know him, but does the rest of the world? A lot of them don't. So Dragunov winning the title from Walter is a little bit of a stretch, at least right now to me. In a couple months, maybe at the next TakeOver, which I really hope is either TakeOver Edinburgh or TakeOver Glasgow. Or just say screw it and do TakeOver Dublin, which they really might. Because for whatever reason, in NXT UK, Ireland is included in that conversation. It's probably because it's right there, and they're like, well, it's easier than just having Ireland get its own NXT. Speaking of which, NXT Europe is probably still going to happen. There's probably going to be at least 4 or 5 NXTs that happen. Maybe 6. Mexico, Canada, Japan, Australia, Europe. Maybe Asia. Maybe 6. Something along those lines. We'll see. South America. That'd be 6. South America would make more sense than Asia, I think. Because there's not that many wrestlers from Kazakhstan that I can think of. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, Dragunov is going to be a main player here in the future. And I'm excited to see it because I've been really high on this kid. He's older than me, I think. I can't even check. It doesn't have a Wikipedia page because that's where I'm reading the card off of. But yeah, Dragunov is going to be a hell of a wrestler. And if he's booked properly, he could be like the Rey Mysterio type, the ultimate underdog who has a little bit of a better all-around game than Rey Mysterio. We'll see where Dragunov's career goes. Maybe we'll talk about him in 2 months as, I don't know, Steve Williams. And it's like, who are you? We'll see. One of the things I do like about NXT UK, now I think about it, a lot of wrestlers get to keep their names. I don't think anybody has had that drastic of a name change. Yet, at least. We'll wait and see. Then we get to the Triple Threat Tag Team Championship match for the NXT UK Tag Team titles. This one was very fast-paced, but it also slowed down at points. And when a match can do that, be both super fast, but also slow and methodical to the right degree, it works. When you look at a match that can be super fast-paced, but also slow and methodical, that doesn't work, Kofi Kingston, Randy Orton, SummerSlam. There you go. And the one thing that was a tough sell for me was how the hell do Andrews and Webster fit into this? I knew they were Welsh. I knew the show was taking place in Cardiff. I still have it ingrained in my mind that if you go to wrestle in your home country or your hometown, you lose that match. Maybe that's why I'm taking Bayley Clash Champions. Because it's in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't know. Either way. They actually worked really well as a team, and I was surprised. I thought Morgan Webster's history as a tag team wrestler was going to be his undoing. I am very happy that was wrong. I However, I'm curious, how long is this reign going to be? Not because Grizzled Young Veterans could get another shot. Not because Gallus still can claim, oh, we were never beaten. Because of Imperium. I know Alexander Wolf isn't involved in the tag team scene, but Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel are. How long until they get their hands on Webster and Andrews and they want those tag team titles? Then the problem is, every single tag team in NXT UK has gotten a tag team championship match. That's the one problem with all NXTs and WWE and New Japan. But not AEW, surprisingly. Your tag team division sucks. But I think it was a good call for Andrews and Webster to win. It's more of a how long can this last conversation for me. Both Andrews and Webster, I don't think, have much of a future outside of the Cruiserweight division. Maybe Andrews, but Webster's a tougher sell. But I'm also curious as to, how can they continue the story going forward? Is Eddie Dennis going to get involved? He's busy recovering from a torn pec, and while those can take upwards of 7 to 9 months, Cena came back in 3. I'm not saying Eddie Dennis is John Cena, but we've seen a quick turnaround from that injury before. Another spot I'm curious about is, why would the Grizzled Young Veterans lose in their first defense? And what is the plan for them going forward? Gallus is obvious they're just going to cause a whole bunch of hell, wreak havoc, and have a good time for themselves. But with Grizzled Young Veterans, they are the tag team division. I don't care that Zach Gibson won the second ever UK championship tournament to get a championship match against Pete Dunne. They are a tag team through and through. It would be like breaking up Hawk and Animal. You just don't do it. You don't sell one without the other. Wherever Gibson goes, Drake goes. It's that simple to me. At some point, maybe we see Drake kind of try to step out of Gibson's shadow, and that's the story there. But I don't think it's the right time for it just yet. Probably because we're still kind of figuring out what NXT UK really is. So we have to wait and see on that. As for the tag team division going forward, like who's going to be the next challengers, Imperium's really the only one left. And I feel like Imperium's going to win the titles. And I am totally fine with that. Because of the fact that Imperium is... What's the right way to say it? Imperium is the undisputed era of NXT. They want all the gold. And they're going to get all the gold. Which is totally fine by me. Maybe that's a War Games match. Maybe we'll get Imperium versus Undisputed Era. But then there wouldn't be any championship matches on War Games, and that'd be stupid. I am curious what War Games is. I'm getting way ahead of myself. So, I look at it. Fun match, good result. Right team won, question mark, because I'm curious about the future of the tag team division. But we're in wait and see mode, and I'm excited to see what Andrews and Webster can do as tag team champions. Next is the last man standing match with Joe Coffey and going against Dave Mastiff. Very fun back and forth. Very, very hard hitting. When one of the moves in your third to last match takes the top rope out of the turnbuckle or out of the ring post, that says something. It's like, okay, these guys are going to destroy each other. And we are all just along for the ride. Now, I felt like they wanted to build Dave Mastiff up to be the next big challenger for Walter. Because big man versus big man. That was a selling point back in the day. And I kind of think they wanted to do that a little bit, at least once or twice. It appears like they're not because of the fact that Joe Coffey got the win. However, he did get the win in very heelish fashion. Because when they both went through a table outside of the ring, I want to say it was in the commentary area, but it wasn't the commentary table. No, it was like up on the stage, if I remember right. And both of them were getting up. Coffee just kicked out Mastiff's legs, and that's how he got the win. So technically, Mastiff could have gotten up if it wasn't for Coffee. While it's also this very smart wrestling from Coffee, as a heel, it's like, oh, he did a dirty tactic, boo. But I'm very fine with the result of this match because of the fact that you look at where both men are in their career. They both have a lot more that's still ahead of them. And it's, there's a lot more to sell going forward. Coffee can ride off this high of like, I beat Dave Mastiff in a last man standing match. Mastiff can go off of this match saying, he didn't beat me because he was better than me. He beat me because he was trickier than me. Or slicker, or slyer. Whatever wording you want to use. It's going to be an interesting future, too, because of the fact that Coffee is still the IWC, or ICW, I believe. I believe it's ICW. Yep, ICW. Never mind, not IWC. IWC is the other one. Coffee is still the ICW 0G champion. So you think maybe at some point he loses that belt, and who knows, we'll see. But I'm very happy with the result. I was very happy with the match overall. Future going forward, these two are not done at all. This could be another match we see at the next takeover. And if it is takeover in Scotland, let me tell you, Joe Coffey's not getting booed. There's no way in hell that is happening. That is your hometown boy. Your home country. That is your fellow countryman, excuse me. You do not boo your fellow countrymen. I think we saw that with, oh God, who was it that usually got booed at Blackpool? Well, Grizzled Young Veterans still get a spattering of cheers, partly because James Drake is really damn good. But you just don't boo your fellow countrymen in international waters, and you don't boo your hometown person in WWE on the main roster on Raw and SmackDown. Yeah. Women's Championship match between Kaylee Ray and Toni Storm. Very short considering the matches on the whole rest of the matches on the card. Everything else went over 10 minutes. This just went a hair under 10. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it felt like it kind of left you wanting a little more. I was rather surprised Kaylee Ray won, but if my theory is correct and they want Toni Storm on the main brand, the main NXT, then this whole thing makes sense. But the fact that Ray was the one to do it, if you wanted to put the title on Kaylee Ray, why put the title on Toni Storm to even begin with? Like, yeah, I didn't mind Toni as champion, but this is 2 takeovers in a row that title has changed hands. It started on Rhea Ripley, and then it was on Toni Storm, and now it's on Kaylee Ray. Yes, it's somebody different for the roster to face, and yes, Tegan Nox is back, which is nice to see, and is going to get a championship shot, if I remember correctly, from the tapings. But how do you word this? How can you justify Toni Storm losing and then showing up on NXT on USA and wanting Shayna Baszler? If she does show up there, you're going to start building up Toni Storm, and it's going to take a little while. That's why I said maybe Tampa a couple of podcasts ago. We see Toni Storm against Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. But what I think is an important takeaway from here, Triple H loves Kaylee Ray. If he didn't like Kaylee Ray, he wouldn't have put the title on her. I think that this match right here isn't her coming out party because a lot of us knew how good she is. But this is her showing all of us who knew how good she is that even with the brightest lights on her, she's going to thrive. Because a lot of people, they get the brightest lights on them and they kind of crumble or fall to the wayside. But not Kaylee Ray. And Kaylee Ray is here to play. And I'm excited to see where she goes. But I'm also curious to see who is like really left in the division that feels like they want a title. They are warranted a title shot. Tegan Nox comes to mind because of the fact that she's back now. Dakota Kai could be. I'm trying to remember everybody on the NXT UK roster. Killer Kelly, Isla Dawn, Viper, or Piper Niven, or whatever her name is over here now in NXT. It's actually up here. Piper Niven. So she's going with Piper. Okay. There's plenty of ways they can go with Kaylee Ray. I'm just curious as to what direction they're going to go first. And then the main event of the show, Walter defending the NXT UK Heavyweight Championship against Tyler Bate. They went for 42 minutes. 42 minutes. It was maybe like a 2-hour window between the end of TakeOver Cardiff and All Out. But a lot of, like, when I was sitting here watching the match, I'm like, they're just going to go until the beginning of All Out. They didn't, thankfully, because I think 2 hours would be a little bit long for a match. It's kind of interesting to see, because Tyler Bate, after the loss, was carried off by his British Strong Style teammates. But based off the tapings, like, you watch that send-off, you watch the end, and you think that's a send-off, and that Bate's going to NXT on USA. But the tapings the next day, looks like they're setting up a feud with him and Jordan Devlin. So it's got me wondering what's really going to happen here. Is Pete Dunne going over by himself? Is all of British Strong Style going over there? So it raises that question, but it also raises the question, how damn good is Walter? This is his second match at a TakeOver, and both matches have gone over 30 minutes. This guy is something special that we haven't seen in a long time. If Braun Strowman loses at Clash of Champions, which, spoiler alert, he probably will, I think Walter, you can make a case for Walter being the best big man in professional wrestling. And while I can agree with that, it's a really weird conversation to have because Walter still has a lot of his career ahead of him. When you have a heavyweight wrestler doing a splash off the top rope, a freaking Stan Hansen type lariat, and just chopping somebody's chest off and making a shotgun sound when he chops somebody in the chest, you have a star on your hands. I think Triple H knows that. That's why he pushed so hard to get Walter. And I'm very excited that he got Walter, because who doesn't want more Walter? Like I said, I'm curious where his next direction is going to be. What's his next challenge? Who's his next challenger going to be? I'm like trying to run through the entire roster in my head. Nobody really comes up as like a legit challenger yet. Also, at the end of the show, I seriously thought Timothy Thatcher was going to come out. Instead, we got Imperium, so there you go. But that is TakeOver Cardiff, a show that lived way above expectations. Very, very good show. Let's go to All Out. That's not meant to be a transition saying that All Out sucked. All Out was overall really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Now, I say I enjoyed it. Let's start with a bit of an off step to me. Nyla Rose winning the Battle Royal. I'm not saying I'm mad that Nyla Rose won the Battle Royal. Let me get that clear. I'm mad in the way she won it. Whenever you have outside interference in a Battle Royal type match that results in somebody winning the match that way, I'm not a fan. Like, I can go back and watch the 92 Rumble and enjoy 99% of that match. But the last 1% of that match where Hogan is distracting Sid and Ric Flair takes advantage, I'm just like, I don't care. That's a bad ending. Yes, Ric Flair went over an hour, that's incredible, but he won because Hogan was distracting Sid. In this case, Nyla Rose won because Britt Baker was distracted by B. Priestley. So, it's kind of a weird spot for me. Like I'm not the biggest fan of the result because of the situation in which it happened. I'm happy that Nyla Rose won. I don't hate Nyla Rose. I think she can be a very talented wrestler. I'm just upset about how it went around. Also, some of the names in this match, before I forget, we had Leva Bates was in there, which she had a nice little bit. Priscilla Kelly, I would really like to see more Priscilla Kelly in the future. And Fabi? I think it's Fabi. Fabi Apache. Very, very nice to see some interesting spots, some diverse, some names you wouldn't have expected to see. I just remember AAA has a women's division, so maybe some names you would expect to see. Sorry about that, Apache. If you're listening, I highly doubt it. Shaz McKenzie being in there was really nice. I really would like to see her in a role there in the future, but if WWE comes a knocking, I'm totally fine with her going to WWE. If she signs an AEW contract, I'm totally fine with her going to AEW. If she signs with who else? Impact, I'll go watch Impact. If she signs with Ring of Honor, I'll go watch Ring of Honor. If you're a fan of somebody, just go watch them. It doesn't matter what promotion they're in. But very, very nice short showing for her too. I'm more excited to see her future aspects. Big Swole being in the match. I'm curious how high they are on her. She was eliminated very, very early. So maybe it was just a one-off, which I think a lot of these might be. But let's wait and see. Tennille Dashwood being in there and eliminated really early was kind of meh. Eva Lise being in there and eliminated really early was kind of meh. Dashwood is in Impact, so now she's kind of off limits from AEW. Eva Lise is still a free agent. She could play into the mix in the women's division, but I feel her talents would be best elsewhere. Anybody else interesting? Nicole Savoy was nice to see. It was nice to see Teal Piper. Really nice to see ODB. The stare down between ODB, Kong, Nyla Rose, and I think it was Jazz was really cool. And it was a nice little nod back to old school TNA. Missed it. And this is the one I want to talk about. Mercedes Martinez was the Joker. WWE had 2 chances to sign her after the Mae Young Classic. Either she told them no, that she didn't want to, or they just straight up did not sign Mercedes Martinez. How can you let a talent like that walk away? And now she's showing up in AEW as a surprise entrant, and the fans go crazy for her. WWE messed up if they let her walk. I think Mercedes Martinez should sign with AEW and become the big star we all know she is. I would love to see Mercedes Martinez in the product too. It would be a great way to, and she would be a huge asset to the women's division because of the fact that she is such a well-known name. And Nyla Rose won the Battle Royal. Bit of a messy finish to me. I didn't like it that much. But overall, it was not a bad match. Was it the worst match on the show? No, that comes a little bit later. But the second pre-show match, Private Party versus Angelico and Jack Evans. I really enjoyed Private Party. I've watched some of their stuff, what I could find. Because I was doing research for Meet the AEW roster, and I was like, who the hell is Private Party? You look them up on YouTube. These guys are doing high spot after high spot after high spot. Crazy moves. The gin and juice finish is fantastic. Top rope Hurricane Rana into a cutter. Great little move. There was the one little botch, put heavy quotes around botch, when it was the reverse Rana on Jack Evans on the top rope. That was the one bad spot in the match, I would say. Everything else looked really, really smooth and really, really good. The one thing that got me talking about this match, though, that got me thinking after the match, Angelico and Jack Evans turning heel. I'm curious as what their direction is going to be. Every time I've seen Angelico wrestle, he's been one of the good guys. I have not seen heel Angelico ever. I'm curious what it's going to be, yes, and I'm excited to see it. Same with Jack Evans, but I know more about Angelico's career than Jack Evans. Sorry, Jack. So let's see where this goes and what the progression is. I'm excited to see it. I want to see it, but it has to be done right. And with a tag team debut later in the night, I don't know if maybe in turning Angelico and Jack Evans heel might have been the right move. But Private Party, I'm curious to see the draw for the AEW Tag Team Championship Tournament. It was said Private Party have the Young Bucks in the first round. How does everybody else fit into that? I know the Dark Order has a first round bye. Is there another first round bye on the bracket? Are there 4 first round buys? You could literally do 4 first round buys. If you want to make this like a sport, and one of the sports you want to follow model wise could be the NFL, they would have 4 teams get a bye going into the second round, going out of the first round. So right now, Dark Order has 1, and there are 3 others available. Or do you have like 2, and then you have every other match to figure out who advances? We have to wait and see. Very curious stuff. Very curious as to who Angelico and Jack Evans are going to draw. Best Friends could come to mind, but you would think they want Best Friends to win in the first round. You want to have Angelico and Jack Evans start winning too. So maybe we see like a put together team lose to Angelico and Jack Evans in the first round. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. To start out the main show, we had SoCal Uncensored versus a boy. Justin Roberts said, a small boy, a boy, and his dinosaur. It was Marco Stunt, Marco Stunt, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. I probably said Jack Evans because Jim Ross kept saying Jungle Jack. His name's Jungle Boy, Jim. Come on. This was a really fun opening match. I really enjoyed it. I think everybody played their part really well. But the star coming out of this, and I say this for every show he's on, the star coming out of this is Luchasaurus. This guy is so damn good. There's a reason I put on Twitter for All Things Combat, give Luchasaurus all the belts. This guy is insanely over. I drew the comparison to, I think it was in the last podcast, I drew the comparison to him being like Mia Yim or Cedric Alexander. The fans chanted, please sign Cedric at the Cruiserweight Classic. Triple H said, okay, we're signing Cedric Alexander. The fans chanted, please sign Mia after the second Mae Young Classic where Mia was eliminated. Triple H said, okay. The fans went to Twitter after Double or Nothing and said, sign Luchasaurus. AEW was just like, okay. I think this guy is going to be a big deal. If there's a mid-card title introduced in AEW, Luchasaurus is one of the 3 top, the 3 names that are like taking the top of that card, are like going to be in the top of the conversation. Him, Jimmy Havoc, and you can make the argument for Christopher Daniels even. I'm probably forgetting somebody. Probably Orange Cassidy or MJF. Yeah, this was a good 6-man tag match. Luchasaurus doing a dive to the outside was not something I expected. Jungle Boy looked great. Marco Stunt, even though I haven't seen a lot of him, he looked really good. And SoCal Uncensored is SoCal Uncensored. These guys know what they're doing. They're solid wrestlers. They get everything down to a T. And I'm very excited to see what the future holds for them. Granted, 2 of them are on the older side. Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian Yeah, Daniels and Kazarian are no spring chickens. Scorpio Sky's not old, but he's not young. He's in that weird like mid-range age for a pro wrestler at least. So I'm very curious to see what the direction is. But I'm very excited to see the future of SoCal Uncensored in AEW. Next up, and I was surprised this was the second match. Pac versus Kenny Omega. I liked this match a lot. I had one major issue. And it's the major issue I have whenever somebody does a dive to the outside. That's really close to a barricade. When Kenny did his classic tope con hilo or the Rise of the Terminator, if they can still use that. He clipped the back of his leg on the guardrail. And I'm like, ugh, because if you clip it in the wrong spot, that's a torn Achilles. That is scary. Thankfully, Kenny seems okay, which is great. The story of this match was not Kenny and Pac just having a classic wrestling match. The story was Kenny overthinking or underthinking things. Like he would do something and then just relax after it instead of staying on the offense. Kenny Omega. Kenny would do moves that you would always see, but like something just felt lacking behind them. And I think it's because of the fact that his match with Moxley had to be pulled. And I totally get that. I totally understand. And I'm fine with the story. I liked it a lot. But this was also like Pac's first match. I thought because that Pac was a last-minute replacement, he wouldn't win. Pac winning sets up an interesting narrative going forward. Does Pac... It seems like Pac is going after Page. After Hangman Page, does Pac turn his attention to Chris Jericho? Very curious. We'll have to wait and see. I will say I'm a huge fan of Pac's reversal of the Kotaro Crusher, where Kenny went to slam his head to the mat. Pac was just like, I'm just gonna flip through it. And like his entrance took a little while, so I'm curious as to if that's gonna be his entrance the entire time. But also, he seemed like just a little like nonchalant, like not that he was overlooking Kenny Omega, but maybe it was looking past Omega, kind of. It's like a weird thing to say. Like he just didn't at first. It's not like he didn't come out and was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. He was like, I'm gonna take my time, which is something I have not seen from Pac in a long time. And it's a nice change of pace. But I'm curious if going forward we're going to see it. Because it seems like him and Page have like a real rivalry going. So maybe we see a little more of that in the future. But we could also see like ruthless, aggressive Pac. Which I'm totally fine with. Also, they're saying Pac. Like Pac. I'm saying Pac. Because I think it's Pac. Like I felt like they were saying it in a different way on commentary. Also, that commentary team is really good. I believe his name is Golden Boy. I know he's a former esports announcer. I don't remember his name, though. I want to say Alex something. But I don't want to be wrong. So I'm going to say what I think his Twitter name is. I think it's Golden Boy. JR and Excalibur are just a really good team. It shows that a three-man team can work. And I'm very excited to see the team on AEW on TNT. Also, I'm curious how Tony Schiavone fits into all this. I have to wait and see. Next up, this is going to be a long one. I'm sorry about it. Jimmy Havoc versus Darby Allin versus Joey Janela in the Cracker Barrel Clash. My God. This one, they went crazy from the outset. As soon as the bell rang, Jimmy Havoc rolled out of the ring, grabbed a staple gun, stapled himself, and then got strapped to a steel chair with duct tape, had thumbtacks put in his mouth was covered in duct tape, and got slapped in it, or super kicked. I don't remember which. He got hit. That's always a scary spot to me, because what if they swallow the thumbtacks? But Jimmy's a professional, and he's been in this match 80,000 times. So it's totally fine and understandable. The real star coming out of everybody looked great in this match. I was going to say the real star coming out of this was Joey Janela. But everybody looked great. Janela doing a running powerbomb through a table. A running sunset flip over the top rope powerbomb through a table on Darby Allin. Jimmy Havoc doing a monkey flip, but Janela staying in the chair. It was great. Darby Allin looked good. He had a skateboard because he used to be a skateboard guy. He used to be a skater, and it had thumbtacks on it, and he dropped in on Paige's back. Not Paige. Janela. Dropped in on Janela's back. And then the barrels, man. I'm actually happy they used the barrels because what's the point of a cracker barrel clash if you're not going to use the barrels? When Allen went from the top rope and did a version of the coffin drop onto where Jimmy Havoc was on the steel stairs, that was scary. Partly because I had no idea where Havoc went. He was there, and then he was gone, and I'm like, where the hell is Jimmy Havoc? And then Havoc suplexed Joey Janela onto another barrel. Only the lid came off and got into Janela's upper thigh. And then Havoc hit the Acid Rainmaker through the rest of the barrel, got the pin. The time limit for this match was 15 minutes. It says here the match went 15 minutes long. Exactly on the dot. Perfect job, Jimmy. I'm curious what this means going forward because two men now have a win in... Well, only one of them has a win in AEW, and that's Havoc. Janela hasn't won yet. He lost to Moxley. And Allen hasn't won yet. He drew with Cody Rhodes. So I'm curious what this means going forward. And I'm curious how much more hardcore wrestling we'll see in AEW. Because of the fact that you have these three that are good at hardcore wrestling, yes. But it's three guys. And yeah, everybody can get hardcore at some point. I get that. But when you have Havoc, Allen, and Janela on the roster, you expect a death match every time. We're not going to get that every single time. I feel like that's pretty obvious. So let's see where this goes. Let's see what happens next. But big win for Janela. Very happy to see it. Next up was the Dark Order versus Best Friends. I think this might have been the worst match. It's between this one and the next one, I think. Now, I'm not dissing on the Best Friends. I love the Best Friends. I haven't seen much of the Dark Order, so I don't want to diss on them. It just felt like something was off. I think maybe after seeing 4 straight amazing matches, we needed a cool-off period because there were 3 big matches to end the show. And this just happened to fall into that spot. It was a bit more slow-paced than I think a lot of us were expecting. It was not like super fast and high-flying, although it wasn't considering Dark Uno. Or Evil Uno, excuse me. There's a lot that happened in this match, but also a lot that didn't happen in this match. This was a match where I didn't pay attention to it because I was like, I'm going to look on Twitter and see what everybody else thought of the Cracker Barrel Clash. It was a good match. It got the job done. It got heat on the Dark Order because of the cheap way they won, and it added fuel to the fire for Best Friends because they feel like they got cheated. It also added Orange Cassidy into the mix, and I'm curious how that's going to play out. Now, going forward, if we have a 6-person tag team title, I can see Best Friends and Orange Cassidy being the frontrunners for that. SoCal Uncensored definitely comes to mind. Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt come to mind. But definitely Best Friends and Orange Cassidy, and then SoCal Uncensored for sure. I'm still very curious, though. Are we going to see more stables in AEW? Because there's one thing everybody knows about Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon hates stables. If we see stables in AEW, that's one thing AEW has going that Vince McMahon does not. So we'll see about that. I'm curious. I'm excited. But overall, this match was kind of a flop point of the show. And the next match suffered too. Riho versus Hikaru Shida. I was not really a fan of this match overall, I'll tell you that. I don't have anything against either woman. I think both women are great professional wrestlers. My issue partly lied into card placement, I think. I feel like if this was the second match on the show, then it would have worked and people would have been into it. But I guess the placing also makes sense because you do need a cool-off period. And while Shida and Riho are talented wrestlers, they're not fly around the ring, do tope con hilos left, right, and center, do diving shooting star presses, do 630s after every near fall. It was a good, safe match. Very simple storytelling. Riho felt like she had been dissed by Shida. Shida wanted to get this over with and be a part of the first ever AEW Women's Championship match, but Riho kept going for roll-ups, which was the story in the match. And I think that you look at it, they see something in Riho. That's obvious. There's something there for them. And I'm curious to see how it translates, because not a lot of Japanese wrestlers translate to America that well. Nakamura and Asuka transferred fantastically in NXT. On the main roster, let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about it. I'm curious to see how it goes for Riho. And same with Hikaru Shida, because they're both on the roster. It's just, there's like that question in the back of my head, like, what could have made this match better? And I really don't know. I feel like at this point in the show, a lot of people were like, this is an okay show. They were like, this is a good show, not an okay show. This is a good show. You could argue that it's really good. And every really good show has low points. Go back and look at WrestleMania 17. They had low points, probably. I don't remember the show offhand, but there were low points, I can imagine. It might have been when they announced attendance, but still. Nothing can be 100 miles an hour all the time. You have to take your time sometimes. This leads into Cody versus Shawn Spears. Fun fact from what people said, Shawn Spears made his entrance at 10:10 p.m. Problem, you can't do that on Wednesday nights. So, sorry about that, Shawn. Shawn had Tully Blanchard in his corner. Cody, we didn't know who he was going to have in his corner. That was one of the stipulations for this match. Both men can have one person in their corner. Cody came out with DDP, Brandy Rhodes, Pharaoh, and MJF. I feel really bad for Pharaoh in that situation because he looked so scared. It's okay, Pharaoh. We all love you. And Cody made the weird choice to a lot of people on MJF. I'm like, I can dig this. Because in looking at it, MJF was one of the big names in AEW that was not on the cards. Or not booked for All Out. And him being in the match, involved in the match, got him on the show. Now, this match started off hot with Cody just going after Spears. Blanchard kind of leveled things out. MJF did mess up at the beginning and allowed Spears to take advantage. Cody eventually got the advantage back. There was a time when both guys were down. Tully had been involved multiple times. MJF was nowhere to be seen. Arn Anderson came out and spinebustered Shawn Spears. He didn't spinebuster who I thought he was going to spinebuster. I was really hoping it would have been Cody, because that would have been hilarious. It's because Rhodes could never trust a member of the Four Horsemen, which Arn and Tully Blanchard are both part of. Along with Ric Flair and the guy everybody forgets, because I am actually really blanking on whoever the fourth person was. Sorry, whoever that was. But this match kind of felt wrong to me. Let me explain. I think, and I've said this a couple times, AEW is going to try to build stars of their own. One of the superstars that they signed that had that was the former Ty Dillinger, Shawn Spears. He didn't really have much going for him at the time of his release from WWE. He didn't really have any story, have any narration, had any motivations. He was kind of a blank slate. And to go to a new company as a blank slate, like, oh, we can establish what we want him to be. I feel like this match would have been the perfect spot for that. But it didn't happen. Cody won the match. So I'm curious as to why that was the case. So far, Spears won a 6-man tag, was eliminated midway through a battle royal, and lost in AEW. He hasn't won a singles match yet, and I know there's only been 3 shows he's been on, yes, but you thought he would have gotten a big singles win here. So it's a real tough one as well. Like, I thought it was a good match. I thought it was good. In a promotion where you have crazy workers like the Young Bucks, the Lucha Bros, Kenny Omega, Pac, Cody's been one of the highlights, which is a surprise to a lot of people, including myself. But something just didn't click here. So there's that. That's all well and done. And then there was a good bit of storytelling after the match, too. After the match was over, there was still a steel chair in the ring. MJF picked it up, and he looked at Cody. When Cody turned around, he threw it away. You can tell that clip right there is being used in a video package at some point. And I think we're all on board with MJF being one of the best heels in pro wrestling nowadays. He's one of the best true heels. Like, no matter what, this guy is going to get booed. Also cheered, but still. Next up was the Escalera de la Muerte match for the AAA World Tag Team Championships, with the Lucha Bros defending their titles against the Young Bucks. This match was 100. I said, like, in the beginning of the card, it was like 100 miles an hour. This one went to like 400. These guys were going crazy, doing so many like moves off the top rope, off the top of ladders, through tables, onto ladders, off top of ladders. They were just doing everything and anything. I think one of my favorite spots of the match was the normal sunset bomb through a table. But really, what was really cool, Phoenix at one point, there was a ladder set up on the outside. He springboarded to the top rope. Everybody was outside at this point. Springboarded to the top rope and then went over the ladder on a bad leg. Phoenix went into this match with a knee injury. To do that on 2 good legs is hard. On a bum leg, too? That's really damn impressive by Phoenix. Now, there was one part of this match I disagreed with, and that was the unmasking of Pentagon. Now, it's a trope we've seen for years in pro wrestling. Yes, I understand that much. But it's a trope I want to go away. I'm tired of like watching every match with anybody that has a mask and it like backfires on them. I'm tired of seeing that. I want it to change. I want it to be different. And I feel like AEW can do that, but they're like, nope, we're just going to do the same thing. Okay, fine. I'll go and watch CZW or something now. But I did like how the fact that Pentagon couldn't see, but he kind of knew where the ladder was, so he just went over and pushed it over to stop the whichever bucket was, I forget at this point. Off the ladder. I think he went through the table too at that point. Yeah, he went through the table on the outside. Or no, he didn't. The other buck went through that, and that's how the buck that was up, that unmasked Pentagon, got up the ladder. Trying to remember, I think it was Matt. That unmasked Pentagon. So Nick got pushed off the ladder through a table on the outside. Pentagon gets unmasked. Pentagon pushes the ladder over, knocking Matt off of it. Gets his mask back, or another mask on, and package pile drives with Double Phoenix Matt on the ladder. That is scary, not because of the fact that it's a package pile driver, because of the fact that, I don't know if you've seen a ladder. Ladders have holes in them. If they're off by like an inch, Pentagon goes to drop Matt. Matt falls head first onto that floor. That would have been real scary. Thankfully, they were in the right spot, and Lucha Bros retained, which is a good choice. I also read that moving forward, the AAA tag team titles will never be mentioned again. It was an excuse to have a ladder match. That's what I read on the rumor roundup I read. But Again, a great match and really fun and exciting 30 minutes almost. No, 21 minutes. Only 21 minutes? That match felt a lot longer. But it was a really fun match. It's something you just sat there and you watched and you enjoyed. And then, after the match, two guys got into the ring. One was wearing a Bill Clinton mask. The other was somebody I didn't recognize. And they were doing moves. And I feel like if you watched them in another promotion, you would know what moves they were. They took off the masks, and it was LAX, Santana and Ortiz, who actually, fun fact, cannot be called LAX anymore because Impact Wrestling has the copyrights to the Latin American Exchange, the team name. I believe now they're going to be called Pride and Powerful. I would just call it Santana and Ortiz personally, but that's me. You look at AEW's tag team division now. You have the Lucha Bros, you have the Young Bucks, you have LAX, you have SoCal Uncensored, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, Private Party, Angelico and Jack Evans, Best Friends, Dark Order. That's 9 quality teams, if my math is right. And this is going to be a fun tag team division to watch. They could just do a 9-person tournament and only have the one first round bye, I guess. That would make sense. It's going to be interesting going forward, too, because now with such a deep tag team division, do you really need Lucha Bros? I'm not saying, turn Pentagon or Phoenix heel. I'm saying what they're like, look, we don't need the team right now. We don't have to be a team. You can go do your singles thing. I can go do my singles thing. And they just separate them that way. I can totally understand that. I would totally be fine with that. It would make so much sense to me. Now, what I am curious about is how are LAX going to work into this tag team tournament? Are they going to be on the same side or the opposite side of the Bucks? And the same can go for the Lucha Bros. Same side or opposite side? That's going to be really interesting to see because of the fact that there's 9 teams right now. Who is going to be eating first round losses that can take it? Private Party, probably the Bucks. Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. That's really all that can take the loss right now. Maybe Best Friends, but after the big moment at All Out, you would think it would be kind of weird. This is the problem with having a super deep tag team division. There's so many questions to ask. It's the same thing you ask with the main roster in WWE. Who could really be left? Who could really be next? But a fantastic match. This was a match of the night, I think. It was between this and the Cracker Barrel Clash for me. I think this one kind of took it. Pac and Omega were the top 3 matches of the night. Were the ladder match, Cracker Barrel Clash, and Pac versus Omega. And it's super close between all 3 for me. But our main event of the night, Cowboy coming in on a horse, Hangman Page versus Chris Jericho, where the winner is the first ever AEW World Champion. I said this on Twitter too. It was a good match. Something just didn't feel right. And I've said this a lot of times where I'm a fan of a wrestler, but I'm not a fan of a wrestler, but I don't know what it is that I'm not a fan of. That was me with this match. Something just didn't feel right. It wasn't the result. I was totally fine with the result. But throughout the match, you could just tell something seemed kind of off. I think it was following such a big match in a fast-paced, huge match like the Lucha Bros and Young Bucks. That kind of was a big... That might have been the reason why this match I felt wasn't as good. And it was a different aspect too. It was great storytelling. Page going for his first ever world championship. Jericho going for his 50 bajillionth to this point. And the whole story between Jericho and Page was an interesting one to follow because of the fact that Jericho busted open Page at Fyter Fest. Page ripped out the stitches in a promo video, and Jericho got busted open here. Page wanted that revenge. And I'm very curious as to what the next direction is for Page. Because Jericho winning this match kind of puts Page back at ground zero or square one or whatever you want to say. Where does he go next? What does he do? And now I'm very curious as to what that's going to be because of the fact that, you have a guy like Page, a talent like Page, who lost your first ever championship match. And now it's like, where can he go? What's next? The answer seems to be Pac. But, after that. So we'll see how that goes. I'm still a bit of a two ways on Jericho. One, I'm fine with him winning the title, and it does put a lot of eyes on AEW TV because a lot more people know the name Chris Jericho compared to Hangman Page. I'm also fine because it gave us the little bit of the bubbly meme that's going around, and I love it. So many funny videos of it. But on the other hand, I still feel like it's weird. You're starting your company off with a former WWE wrestler, a former rival competitor's guy, as your first world champion. And I know that wasn't by Jericho's choice. Jericho could have gone anywhere in 1999. Jericho chose WWE. 20 years later, we didn't know AEW was going to be a thing and Jericho was going to leave WWE. Hell, at this point, I thought he might have been retired. I'm happy to be wrong. I'm more than happy to be wrong about that fact. But with this win, I don't mind the Jericho one, like I said. I'm more curious as to why he won. It's probably the name value. It's probably because people know Chris Jericho. But when you're making your own stars, Hangman Page is the perfect example of that. So why kind of turn things back like that? Why be like, actually our first champion's going to be Chris Jericho? I don't... Ugh. And overall, again, a good match. These two work really well together, surprisingly, for their first time ever. These two working a near 30-minute main event like that is a really damn good job by both men. But at the end of the day, I don't think this match, the first ever AEW championship match, is going to define All Elite Wrestling. I never did. I didn't think the success of All In, Double or Nothing, Fyter Fest, All Out, I don't think any of those are going to define the success of AEW. I think what's going to define the success of AEW is going to be making their own stars. They made Page, even in a losing effort, look like an amazing star because he went toe-to-toe with maybe definitely one of, but maybe the greatest wrestler of all time in Chris Jericho. He went toe-to-toe with Y2J and came out looking like $1 million. You cannot find one bad thing Page did in that match. Is that from Jericho leading him in the ring? Is that from Hangman Page being a fantastic wrestler on his own? Maybe it's a little bit of both. This company is going to be defined by how good they are at making their own stars. And I'm very excited to see that. We're taking people who you might not have heard of, like Wardlow, for example, who had a video package on the pre-show, and see if he can become a star. People like Sadie Gibbs, who we don't know a lot about. People like Private Party, Hangman Page. And if we're going to continue to get more and more of that, Riho comes to mind, Nyla Rose comes to mind. These are names that we all now know who at the beginning of the year, we had no idea who they were. And now we're like, everyone's like fans of them. Although I'm not a fan of Private Party weighing in at 24 ounces of cranberry vodka. You guys got to be marshmallow vodka, man. Come on. It's an exciting time for pro wrestling. And yes, people are going to pick sides in the AEW versus NXT war. I'm going to watch both shows on their debut nights. I'll figure out which one I want to watch then and record the other. It's that simple. I'm still going to enjoy pro wrestling in 2019. It doesn't matter if there's a war on. This is the most exciting time for pro wrestling history. You can argue the Attitude Era 20 some odd years ago, yes. But I think this so far has kind of topped it because of social media. that's a long discussion that I don't think we have time for today. I'm very curious, though, going forward with AEW. They're coming off of... I'm trying to remember back to Fyter Fest. Or Fight for the Fallen, excuse me. Fight for the Fallen and Fyter Fest. Those two shows were okay, from what I remember. They're coming off of a really good show here. And going forward, if they can build off of this, I'm very excited. I'm curious to see who's going to be Jericho's first challenger. I'm curious to see who's going to be the first AEW Women's Champion. Curious to see who's going to challenge for the AEW Women's Championship. Curious to see what the tag team tournament bracket is. Watch, it's going to come out probably on Friday after this video goes up. And I'm going to be looking like an idiot because I don't know the brackets on Thursday at 5:24 p.m. But that is all we got for this week, guys. Great weekend of wrestling is behind us. Going forward, we've got Clash of Champions coming up. We've got AEW on TV. We've got NXT on TV. I'm very excited to see the future of pro wrestling here. I'm curious to see if we have any more NXT announcements also. Not like, NXT UK on Fox. WWE make it happen, maybe. Are we going to see NXT Japan that we've heard from rumors for damn near 5 months now? We're going to hear about NXT Canada that we've heard rumors for about a month now. NXT Australia. I just want a whole bunch of pro wrestling. I have no life. Give me all the pro wrestling I can handle. But alright guys, thank you guys so much for listening. As always, if you liked the video, leave a like. Give me a thumbs up. That would be really cool. Leave a comment. I'm always willing to talk about anything you guys hear in this episode. What are your opinions? What were your thoughts on All Out? What were your thoughts on NXT UK Takeover Cardiff? What were your thoughts on Bayley's possible heel turn? Leave a comment down below if you're interested in it. Hit subscribe if you want to. Videos go out weekly. I do want to start more podcasts, but I don't have the time for it right now. You can follow myself on Twitter at Shirosolidar, where I talk about video games, sports, pro wrestling, everything under the sun that I want to talk about. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. You can follow All Things Combat, over at Things Combat on Twitter, where we cover professional wrestling, boxing, and MMA. We have our merch store back up. That link will be in the description below as well. And I'm also the sports editor over at The Cauldron. And you can follow us at CSU Cauldron. Our first issue is coming up. We have to lay it out and revise it on Sunday. And on Tuesday, it will be out to print. Very exciting week for me. Very exciting week for all of us over there at The Cauldron. Exciting week for us at All Things Combat. It's just an exciting week, guys. It's always an exciting week. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll see you next week with, hopefully, something to talk about. Maybe AEW will have a TV show named by then. Maybe they already do and I'm stupid. I don't know. Maybe Bayley will be a face again. Maybe she'll still be heel. Who knows? We'll see. All right. See you guys next week.